I don't know, but he's moving on, and we need a state's attorney. Mr. Wright will advise us on why he should be the best choice and the one we should consider. So without further ado, I will introduce to you candidate Mr. Joseph Wright.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you. Good evening. I'm Joseph Wright. I've been prosecuting for 12 years. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I said I will take about 5 minutes to tell my story. I grew up here in Prince George's County. Really, I was raised in foster homes in Baltimore City back in the late 60s, early 70s. And then I was adopted by a family in Prince George's County in the late 70s. And they grew up, and they lived actually down the street here in Kettering. Kettering has been my home since I've been very young. After I was adopted, I went to Duval High School for my junior year, then on to private school. I really wanted to go to private school, so essentially I got a job. Federal government, any federal government workers here? I was a GS1, former federal government workers here? I was a GS1 step 1.
Wow.
I think that's called the bottom of the rung. And I gave my private school, as a senior, my checks every 2 weeks. My principal took them every 2 weeks in order to pay for my schooling. Then I went on to college, and I'm a proud graduate of Prince George's Community College, and then on to Howard University, and on to law school.
Also at Howard?
Pardon me?
At Howard also?
No, I went to law school at Tulane in New Orleans. God bless New Orleans. I came back here to the area, married my college sweetheart, and we now live still essentially in Kettering. Now, I started prosecuting about 12 years ago, and prosecuting, I've handled every type of case. Sex offenders, MS-13 gang cases, I'm an expert in terms of gang cases, murder cases, death penalty murder cases. I have been solely defined, though, by my police brutality cases. I'm the only prosecutor, some say in history, to have ever successfully handled a police brutality case. I know I'm the only one in history to have handled more than one. The first police brutality case I handled, 4 young boys in Landover were trying to get to the Metro to get to PG Plaza. This was about 3 years ago, and they were assaulted, beat down, maced by a cop. I prosecuted him, and the reason why it's interesting is because the cop is the defendant. I go to him and I say, I'm offering you a plea offer, just like I would offer you, or you, if you did a serious crime. Essentially, they said, why would I take a plea offer? You all have never done this before. We're police officers. And we convicted him. The second officer, though, you all may have heard of. The second officer I prosecuted, his name was Keith Washington.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
All of y'all know who that is. Y'all all friends in this, I understand.
But I could have prosecuted him in that case.
Interesting you say that. My office didn't want to prosecute. It was a big decision whether to even prosecute. Some people may remember how long it took for us to go forth. Essentially, what was happening behind the scenes is I was screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs, we must prosecute this case. Right is right. Yes, he's an officer. However, all the facts I know, I believe, and I still believe to this day, and he was convicted under this, he shot 2 young men, killed one, permanently injured the other, for no good reason whatsoever. They were late. We've all been there, right? Between the cable man, the phone man, the furniture delivery, the refrigerator, but that's still not reason to shoot the 2 young men. That was the second case I handled. I also offered, hey James, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good. I offered him a plea offer as well. And he said, why are you all even prosecuting me? Glenn Ivey, what are you doing? Why are you letting him prosecute us? Because I'm a police officer, and I just still believe that right is right, wrong is wrong. And that's pretty much the creed I live by. I had one more officer this past year, and he was a municipality officer, and I said, look, do you want a plea offer? He said yes. And for the first time in history, we had someone actually plead guilty, which means what? We may be turning the corner in terms of police as defendants in terms of the police brutality cases. Now, what was the big case a couple weeks ago that made CNN national news in Prince George's County with the police?
That was the police macing.
College Park beating. My phone started ringing off the hook. The lawyers in the county, Joe, you must prosecute this case. Not the state's attorney's office, not the candidates. Joe Wright must prosecute this case because he's the one we trust with the police brutality cases. And it's interesting. I do not have that case at this time, but we'll see what happens. But it was a sad, sad case because these type of cases give a black eye to all of us here in Prince George's County. My cousins call me from California, from Atlanta. What's going on in Prince George's County? Isn't that where you live? Yes, it is, and that's sad. Now, what do I want to do as state's attorney? I want to do really a couple things. One, I want to establish an elder abuse unit, a unit that helps senior citizens, elderly, as victims. Elderly are being victimized in Prince George's County physically, on healthcare workers and the homes and things of that sort, along with economically. Reverse mortgage lending, wills and estates fraud, things of that sort. We need to establish an elder abuse unit. As a prosecutor for the last 12 years, I'm more experienced than all of my candidates. I do realize that in California they have, in San Diego they have an elder abuse unit. We need to copy that, create one here. Number two, I was the community prosecutor for Prince George's County for many years. What does that mean? We had Camp Springs here. Who's Camp Springs? Anyone from Camp Springs?
We are.
We are Camp Springs. And I'm gonna ask you all, where are you from? Where's your area?
West Hyattsville.
West Hyattsville? Upper Marlboro?
West Hyattsville.
West Hyattsville?
Greenbelt.
Greenbelt?
Brandywine.
Brandywine? Brandywine? Cheltenham. I have worked with every single community that you all have named, plus every other community, essentially in Prince George's County, as community prosecutor. What I did in Suitland, across from Andrews Air Force Base, there was a hotel, Super 8. It was within 500 yards, I know, of Princeton Elementary. The young kids had to walk over to
That's
the
not
Eagles.
Suitland, that's Camp Springs.
Camp Springs. And that's what I meant to say, Camp Springs. And essentially, the hotel is overrun by bad people. Bad people being drug dealers, prostitutes, and things. As a community prosecutor, I filed suit using nuisance abatement tools. Those are tools that prosecutors have. I filed suit against Super 8 to get your act together. Their corporate management flew up. I met with the Camp Springs Civic Association, Tina, and others.
You met with
That was
Camp Springs.
Exactly. And I apologize, but I met with Camp Springs Civic Association personnel. I met with the community. Community prosecution is about community, prosecutors, and police working together to a common goal to make sure that this business, which utilized many police resources, it was a drain on police resources, make sure that they can clean up their act. After we filed suit, negotiations ensued. They essentially fired everyone at the hotel. They brought in police, security, cleaned up the place. They brought in an actual Xerox machine on the premises so you can figure out who was in the rooms and everything else. And now they're functioning as a fairly normal hotel. I did the same in College Park. For those that are near College Park on Route 1, there was a hotel there called College Park Motel, overrun by prostitutes, drug dealers, and the like, right next to Lasix House of Beef. This place, the police were there every 17 minutes from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. and it was a mess. I also filed suit against them. They did not understand how to even come into compliance. It is now a flattened lot. Still worth quite a bit of money and now being sold for redevelopment purposes, but a flattened lot. All the business owners up and down the Route 1 corridor are thankful for my office as well as me for what we did in terms of that action. We also handled crack houses. I alone closed down, and I don't know if you've heard about these, illegal strip clubs. They're all over the county. I closed down, essentially by my count, at least 20 as a community prosecutor. I also got involved with certain businesses that have the huge neon lights and the police presence. In my own neighborhood of Kettering, where I grew up and I loved, we had a Peter's Carryout. It's on Kettering Drive, right down the street. It was a magnet for crime, and we couldn't figure out what it was. I got involved with Kettering Civic Federation. We worked together trying to figure out the problems, and we solved the problems.